Alright, this is a video I'm making on going ahead and making plastic lures. The first thing you need to start out to make the plastic lures is you need a mold, something to make a mold out of. Let's go ahead and look and see what I got. I work at a hospital, so that makes it real easy to go ahead and acquire plastic containers that you can use for the molds. You can, if you work at a hospital, you can get them. You can go to the pharmacy. It's a little plastic test tube. This is another type of test tube that they use to collect samples. Got a little dimension on the side and milliliters and all that. These are pill bottles. You can probably go to your pharmacist and see if you can talk him out of some different sizes. And this is, I think this is like a 1 inch. And this is probably like 1.5 inches or so on diameter. You can, I mean, there's even quite large ones you can get. This is a plastic tube that this company McMaster Car I bought them from. They have this and this smaller size, and I think even bigger sizes. So you can, it's a place you can buy it. At the end, I'll show you about McMaster Car. The last thing I got is, this is a rubber mold. It's a urethane rubber mold that I made. Now what I had to do was, first I had to turn the shape I wanted. And this is the particular shape I'm going to pour and we're going to try. And what it is, this is brass rod that I set in the end. This is the size of the brass rod that I use for the tubing through the molds. But what it is, I set that up in a mold, had a little framework around it, poured the urethane in there. This is the first test of the urethane to see how the resin releases. I tried this before, but what it is the wood that I used was mahogany, and you could even, it picked up the details so fine it picked up the grain of the wood. So these I really polished out. I got around 5 or 6 different shapes that I made in different lengths. But we're going to give that a try and see how that works out. Alright, that's a bit of it on a mold. I really didn't find, of all the different, and I tried different plastics, I really didn't find any plastics that the casting resin really stuck to that you could use as a mold. So any shape you want, you can use as a mold. The critical thing is it has to be smooth. Otherwise, if it's a rough inner shape, it's going to pick up a rough inner shape. But these are the molds I use. Real easy. The very basic is going ahead, going to pharmacy and getting some from pharmacy. Or your where you get prescriptions, or even laying around the house, or just anywhere I'm looking for plastic containers. Or you can get into making your own. Alright, let's get into what do you do with the container. Now, these large containers, I drill a 3/16 hole in this one, because on this large one I'm going to use brass rod. Now, what I do is the brass rod, let me get the brass rod. The brass rod, these are 2 different sizes. This is an 1/8 outer diameter, and this is a 3/16 outer diameter. Use both. I've been sort of heavily going to the 1/8, because that's enough diameter in there to slip a good size line through. You can go here. It doesn't really make any difference. Choose one. McMaster Car sells this stuff in 6-foot lengths. I think it's around $7 for a 6-foot length. You'll have to check. I'm not sure. But it's solid brass. It'll hold up well in the mold. Alright. Now, 3/16 hole here. And these other smaller ones, I use a 1/8. Got a 1/8 hole here. And I'll explain why I have the holes in the bottom in a minute. Now, originally when I started this, I went ahead, in the book, the fishing magazine that I got this from, talked about just a container, taking a rod, filling the rod up with clay so resin wouldn't go in there, basically setting it down inside there and then pouring it. I came up with, I like this better, because now I can go ahead and push this down through when I cut it to the right length, And in a sense, it'll center it in the bottom of the cup. When I pour the resin in, it'll keep it nice and centered. Let me come down a little bit on this telephoto. It'll keep it centered. That way, when I put it in +2, it'll keep any resin from going in the hole. So I like to drill the hole on the end and make it a little snug, so I mean, when I push that in, when I pour the resin in there, it won't flow through. All right. So I got my mold set up. What am I going to do next? Well, next I'm going to set up the brass to go ahead and put in the molds. Now, there's a couple of different ways I set this up. One is, well, before I do that, I cut the brass to length. Have a certain length. I cut it, whatever is, make sure I cut it longer than what the mold I'm going to put it into. I better go back out to wide. I cut it off to make sure it's the right size to go over again. Got a piece of brass. Chop it off any way you can. Make sure it's longer than your tube. You can just put it in there and pour it with nothing. And, you know, no weight in it, no design, just a piece of plastic with a hole through. Yeah, it could work. You can dye the resin, you know, and just use that if you want to use that. Or you can dress up this piece of brass. I have a piece of the brass here. And what is, I bought these doll eyes. Go ahead. And these doll eyes, I'll put it posted on the site, you know, on this DVD where I got them from. They were a couple of bucks for a gross of them, whatever. They got different size eyes, real little eyes, bigger eyes. Whatever size will fit nicely into your mold. This, put in. Put it in there, pour the resin in, get an eyes. Now, if I want to dress this up a little bit or put weight, and go ahead, and here's a lead weight I made up with a 1/8 hole through it. Slip that on. Put that in there. Now I got the eyes with a lead weight in there. I can have the eyes up in front of it, because you always want to, this is going to be the smooth end. You always want this to be the front. You can have the eyes in front. Or actually, when I pour this, if I put it in like this, I can have the eyes in back with just the lid up in front, the eyes in back. Anyway, I've made them both ways. Now, the one other thing you want to do is, rather than just a hunk of lead, you want a little flash in there. So, do is take this. This one I'm going to do green. Now, what it is from that McMaster card. This is actually reflective tape. I don't know if you can see it on there. And what it is, it's $5 for I don't know how many feet. And go ahead, buy that tape. Got that tape around it. Cut it. I got some reflective tape in there. Alright, we're going to leave that one go just like that. I'm going to leave that with the reflective tape in. That's ready to be set up. It's ready to be poured. Let's show you, I'm going to show you a couple others. There's the same thing with a bigger. Now this is the 3/16. Got the eyes glued on there. Nice heavy hunk of lead, bigger diameter lead. Yeah, to hold it in place. Smash it down a little bit. I gotta smash it down a little bit more. Smash it down a little bit more. That sort of holds it in place where you want it. This one, let's go fancy. Now you can buy this reflective tape at a number of places if I can ever get it peeled off. There we go. Like old fish scales or so on there. I bought a whole bunch of this stuff. Different colors and everything else. And there, almost looks like you can see that nice reflective tail. Alright, got that one in there. Again, we're going to put the eye, we're going to put the eyes in back on this one. I'll push this sucker down. What we have is, on this one we have the weight in front, the eyes in back. Another one done. Now, we got some big ones here. Here's an example of a big one. Now what it is, this is a big weight. I didn't measure. It's 6 ounces of lead. This is fairly heavy, but we're going to put this one in. The big one. This could be the teaser. I mean, they sell these darn things up to 4-inch diameter. So it's as big as a plastic container you got. I'll put a little flash on this one. They got a ton of different colors of these tapes. You could get crazy. But I basically have acquired, different colored shapes, different textures on it. Different designs on it. And this particular one we'll just leave like that. You can put as much lead as you want in this thing. You can almost, if you make a bigger piece of lead or get a bigger piece of lead in there, you can put as much weight as you want in there. Here's another one. I had this one set up with some tape on it. I don't have the eyes on it. We'll just go with, pour that one like that. I got these tapered ones. Well, I always like lead. Well, here. Here's another one set up. Let's get. Here, I got some iridescent green here. Let's try this. Got this one from McMaster-Carr. I like McMaster-Carr. Basically anything you want, you can get out of there as far as tools, equipment, supplies. Where'd this go? There we go. This one goes here. You can get out of McMaster-Carr. It was sort of a iridescent. Boy, you can't even pick it up. It's sort of a very shiny green. I'm going to try that. What else we got? It's a real small one. Well, yeah, I had a real small. Well, there's a real small one with lead. Don't have eyes on it. I got a blue. I want to see what the blue looks like. Again, all of this is, you got to play around and figure out what you want. But this is blue. There it goes. I'd like to, again, this is iridescent tape. So actually, it looks better on there than it does actually in person. But, alright, so that's that. That's blue. We're going to see what blue looks like.